Before we continue, a quick word from our sponsors, Perfect Circuit in the US of A. Are you tired of going into your loft to find old magazines to geek out on electronic music tips and tricks? The place to look for information and inspiration is Perfect Circuit's website. They make tons of original content like articles on vintage synths, drum machines, the history of synthesis, and a whole lot more. And if anything tickles your fancy, of course you can buy it direct from them. Modular gear, synths, pedals and effects, along with pro audio gear, all shipped worldwide. Great value combined with expert advice and support is what keeps customers rushing back for more. So dial into perfectcircuit.com and say a big thanks to Perfect Circuit for sponsoring this video.
Here I've got the Polyend plate, and I've had this for a fair few months now. I've spent January in France and took this with me as my only bit of music kit, so I've had a good amount of time to play with it. And I've taken a while to put this video together because I didn't want to simply replicate what you've probably already seen about it. Stuff like it's pick and play. I'm just going to go through some stuff briefly here, just in case you don't know. So pick and play means that I've got a sample, I've got a clap there, we can play it, but we can put it on any track. It's quite a nice way actually of getting little accents, put double ones on. And we can go in and we can edit every aspect of what's in each of these on the grid. In fact, we can have a different instrument on every cell. So what have we got there? The clap 13, 14. And obviously you can go in and you can tweak anything you like in them. Let's add some high pass. So it's really simple to get things going really quickly, but in a different way than you'd do it with an XOX standard style step sequencer. Let's move them. We can randomize stuff as well. What have we got in here? Let's just get rid of all those for now. Put some hi-hats along the top. Going to randomize. So we're randomizing the samples that are in that folder. There's different things you can do. Samples in the pool, volume, texture, you know. Let's find samples in the folder again. Whoops. Pick one you like, save it, you're done. So yeah, as I say, really nice, intuitive way of programming it. And it just makes you think differently than most things. And the really unique aspect of it are these variations that we get. So we can have different variations on the same track. So if I play that, variation 1, variation 2, I've saved it using different samples. Variation 3 and 4, similar thing. And all your tracks can have variations. You can see where I've put variations on this. And the trick here is that you can select variations, 16 variations for each of these 16 tracks, 8 MIDI and 8 audio, which gives you a huge amount of variation that you can get on any particular pattern. And if we go into pattern mode, we've got 128 patterns, 8 by 16 in here. So each of these 128 patterns has 16 tracks in it, and each of those 16 tracks has 16 variations on it. So you can see, I think that's over 30,000 different combinations you can have at any one time in here, which is pretty much a complete gig, I'd have thought. But if that's not enough variation for you, each track can have things like different number of steps. It can be up to 64, and you can play it forward, reverse, first steps, all different sort of combinations of how it plays the steps. There's 35 of them in there in total, and I'll show that in a little bit more detail later. We can also change the speed of each of the tracks. So we can have it double speed, half speed. If I play that, we can see different speeds of that track. Let's speed up a bit. I've set it to 64 steps. Let's just change that again. So we're not moving at all there. It's a 16th of the speed. Double speed, triple. You get the idea. So all sorts of really nice combinations of track length, track speed, and we can have the probability of various actions. So at the minute it's on playing a step, then we can play something once every 4 or 5 bars, once every 2 bars, once every 3 bars. So although you've only got 64 steps, you can end up with huge variation on a pattern of 4 bars because you can change it over the 4 bars times 4, so 16 bars, because you can come in and you can put random samples in, random notes, various things. Humanization, so that sort of puts a little micro move in there. In other words, there's a whole bunch of things you can do, given that you've got thousands of samples in here to start with. Just go into the file structure, samples, sample packs, loads of different sample packs in there to get you going. It doesn't contain any of its own sounds. It can't create sounds. It can't sample sounds. Everything's got to come via the memory card that we've got in the back there, which is why it's called the Play, because it's really good fun to play and arrange things. One of the big aspects that you'll have seen on lots of videos is this performance mode, and each of these strips has got different effects on it. Let's just make that kick a little bit more normal, shall we? Come back into that pattern, put the track speed on 1. There we go. And this is the sort of stuff that you saw me doing in that intro track. So here we've got different tunings. Oh, let's select. Got filters, got a low pass, got a high pass, got overdrive, got bit reduction, different trigger modes. You can see this is just, you know, tons of fun. And we've got repeats, like delays. Even the kick going, just putting everything else through it. Different types of delays. Reverbs. I did say I wasn't going to really demo all this, but it just gets so much fun. Then repeats. You get the general idea. So yeah, we've got a few modes here. We've got the performance mode, the arranging mode, and we've got that for audio and for MIDI. This is the MIDI, a couple of things playing there, I'll show that in a second. Audio, we've just got really simple kick, snare, clap and hi-hat. We can mute stuff, we can solo it. You saw we've got the different variations, haven't programmed any into that. If we go over to the MIDI, there's the bass. Some chords. And what is really interesting and what I really wanted to concentrate on today, because I've not seen much about it, is this page, is the MIDI page, and playing something else using this as the centerpiece of a little studio or of a really minimalist DAWless setup. And I'm using the Blofeld here. I think I'll have to do an episode or a show on the Blofeld because it's such an amazing little synth. It's so old, but it plays 22 instruments or 22 sounds simultaneously. It's got 16 channels of MIDI. You know, if we go in here, I don't know if the camera's even still in focus, but if we come in, we can see we've got, 16 different channels of MIDI. But if you didn't have something like the Blofeld and you needed some more instruments, well, because you've only got the one MIDI out here, you'd need a little box. I've got this ESI, what is it, an M4UEX that I've been using with other things. So I've got one MIDI in and 7 MIDI outs with this if I have it in standalone mode. Pretty cool, but you need something like that if you're gonna use this with more than a single instrument. And what I found really cool about this is that we've got 8 different MIDI CCs for every MIDI channel. So you've got 8 tracks, but those tracks don't have to be MIDI channel 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, for example. A little bit like when we had the samples, you could put the clap wherever you liked. You can do the same thing here. So if I put this onto sample now, we're on the MIDI channel. We've got jack, and we've got USB. But if I put something on these keys here, each of those keys now will be using USB channel 9. If we go in, so change that one to 8. It's nice using this because it clicks, so you can get definite. You can hear that click maybe. So you can easily find definite values. So if we go back to these, you can see they're all using different MIDI channels. I'm turning them off as I do that because I'm not holding them for long enough. But so MIDI channel 9, MIDI channel 8, MIDI channel 7, MIDI channel 6, which is really quite funky because it means you can write a line wherever you like and you can play different instruments for every note, which is something I prepared earlier. So this has just got every one of these playing a different MIDI channel. Some of them are playing channel 1, which is the main bass. Some of them are repeating. And using the variations, and the variations were created by just changing, randomizing the MIDI channels and find stuff that you like. Let's go to the audio side of things. So that's just a little quick trick I learned. Obviously you could do something similar whereby on every step you put different notes. So you could have a G, a C, a G, G, C, C, G, G, or whatever, and then just play them in different orders and see what melodies you come up with. That's quite fun as well. What I really wanted to show is how, as a central point to a DAWless setup, this is really quite flexible because you can control up to 8 different MIDI CC parameters for every MIDI channel. If we come into here, so we're going to this MIDI setting here, CC mapping, each of the MIDI channels has got its own MIDI mapping. So channel 2, for example, cutoff is on 80. Channel 1, cutoff's on 74. So any of these that are manipulating the audio, so reverb, overdrive, sample attack, sample decay, and the filter cutoff, now become MIDI CC controllers. So if we go back into 1, for example, we are in 1. If we go into number 8, channel 8, 69 and then 80. 69 is the cutoff for channel 8 of the low pass. It's got 2 filters on that sound. And sample attack is MIDI CC 80. And that's the high pass filter. Blofeld, again, 2 filters on every tone. As I say, I should do a demo with that really, because it is quite a cool little synth. So if we play, and then of course you can randomize all of that. You can do everything that I've been doing with the other bits and bobs. But control of 16 MIDI channels plus 16 USB channels as well. Although you've only got 8 tracks, you still have access to all the 16 USB and jack channels, because you can change it from pattern to pattern. You can change it from variation to variation. You can change it from note to note. So massively tons of stuff in there. It's not very often you're playing 8 notes at the same time, unless you're playing chords, which is where these 2 notes come in. Let's just solo these. Couple of very, very quiet chords there, but that's what they are, the chords. If we come into the different view mode, we've got a keyboard here. Let's just make channel 2 a little bit louder so we can hear what's going on. This sample start now. It's changing the chord. So I think this is a major, is it? And that one's a minor. That's a major. That's D major and C minor or something like that. D2 and E. And by using that, you can get over those limitations of only having 1 note per step or 1 note per track at any time. And then while we're on that, I did say I was away and I used this as my only sort of musical bit of kit. I was using this as my MIDI controller, because if you look at this view here, whether you're in audio mode or MIDI mode, we've got a little keyboard. Not quite as handy as having a big keyboard, but it's there, and it was very useful, and you really get used to playing it. Just turn it around actually when I'm using it, but yeah. So I hope that sort of shone some light on this as not just being a sample player and sample effects and filtering and all that stuttering. It really does work well as a centerpiece for a DAWless setup, especially if you want to go minimal, just want this and something else like the Blofeld or a drum machine and something, you know. This can control, or this has a lot of control over an awful lot of stuff, even though you've only got this one MIDI out. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was of use to somebody somewhere. If it was, please do think about subscribing, ring the bell, maybe join me over on Patreon. Everything anyone can do to support the channel does help. It doesn't actually make any money, this. Yeah, thanks for watching. You know, share, enjoy, all the rest of it. And I will see you next time.